Hello everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Just wanted to continue where I left off from yesterday. If you go under my Quant Labs YouTube channel, I'll show you where we are referring to. So if you go under the playlist for Dukascopy right here, what you'll find here.
You want to create a website? I've already.
No, I don't care, to be honest, buddy. Okay, so what we're referring to here is this video here, Redis NOSQL command driven to submit, order, and close copy. We left it where it's tied to the orders. In this particular video, I'm going to show you how to do that within your Java code. Okay, so let me just clean up here. And as usual, we got to make sure you're running your Redis server. Also, we are running the Redis client CLI, the hyphen CLI. And when you go in your database, your current state, I'm going to show you what I have available in there using lrange because that's where we left off and that's what we're using. Let me just put it this way. I'm going to flush the entire database, so I'll do a flush all. Okay, so there's now no database. There's no content at all in the database. So what we have here is in the NetBeans, very simple. Again, in OnTick, what we're doing here is I've shown you all this code about how to set up Redis and the different nodes. But there's some bugs I wanted to show you, so it's really important that you do watch this video before. Actually, this video here, the Redis NoSQL command driven to submit, order, close with Dukascopy, to understand what I'm talking about here. Okay, so there's a few things that I had to ensure. Sometimes when you make a call out to the database, the Redis, in my case, I'm doing an order 0 minus 1, which is everything. We sometimes may get no data for whatever reason. So we want to make sure we just set the different amount of nodes at 0 from our row counter that we set up again in the previous video. Also, if the diff nodes is greater than 0, we know we have data to work with and rows to work with from the Redis database. So we usually iterate through it, and we iterate through, I believe it's last in, first out. So that's what we're using, I believe. It's LIFO. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to then parse up the row that's retrieved. There's a key and then there's a value. So what we're referring to is the value. So in this case, if I'm pushing lpush into a key called order, and then here's the data that we're sending over, is this string. So essentially, this could come in from pretty well any language that I would push into Redis, and then there would be this JavaScript that will run, or Java program that will run all the time, pulling the Redis database for any keys or in a message queue with the value of order. So when it sees something like this, whereas we want to do an open, this is the order label. Now you'll notice here it's parsed up by comma. So in our case, we have a label. We're just calling it some generic name by date or something, SEP 37. It has to be unique because for every order, it will be a different order label. So that's going to be driven by the Python. And usually how that would work was just some generic order label plus maybe the the current time and date, like a timestamp, and then we can add that to the label to make it very unique. So when we close it, we use that same label to close that particular order, so we know exactly what we need to do. So very primitive what we're doing here, but it kind of works. But I could also down the line maybe modify the order into when it's sent or submitted into Dukascopy the servers. So we can do that, but for now we're just doing a simple open and close. And I'm going to show you some tricks that I came across. So not only are we sending over a unique order label, we have to tell it what instrument we want. In our case, for simplistic reasons, we're just keeping it just the euro US dollar. And then we say buy as a command. This is the units, which is just basically 1 unit, I think 1 pip. This is the slippage. This is the take profit, and the, oh, I'm sorry. Right here's the price, which is 0. That's the slippage, the 20. And then this right here would be, you could theoretically send over a hard take profit and a hard, I think this is a stop loss and a hard take profit. And the order is driven by, let me just pull it up in the Java docs. So if I do Java docs JForex submit order, hopefully we can find it, we should be able to. Yeah, let's just do the I order. So if I look up submit order, here's the parameters that we have. We'll find it. Okay. No, we are going to do the iEngine, I believe, interface instead. Hopefully we get submit order. Here we go. So what we're referring to is this exact order. So again, label that we have. The very first one that we send over is what are we doing? We're doing a buy, or sorry, an open or a close, long or a short, buy or a sell. So in our case, we're doing an open with our label, followed by the instrument, followed by the command, which again is the buy. So we're just following this format that's supplied by the Dukascopy API. The order command plus the amount plus the price plus slippage, and we can also add in the stop loss and the take profit. Okay, so that's the order we're sending in within this value string. But do understand we're not really using the stop loss or the take profit, because through my testing, I'm prematurely closing the order. So it took me a while to figure it out, because you want the order state to be created and then the order state to be filled and stay at filled. Okay, so when we're ready to send the order, or sorry, the close command, it'll close it. So that's the logic that we're working with, as I said, on a primitive basis. So when you look in the code for each command, we see if the row from Redis that we're retrieving contains an open command, and it will, because we specify it right here, then it will meet this condition. So I'm just regurgitating what I just said here in my comment, and then we split the row by comma and parse it up into label, instrument, the command. This could be done smarter, I know that. The amount, price, slippage. Theoretically, we are doing take profit and stop loss, but what's important to understand is that, as I said, we're not using these two, the take profit or the stop loss. Okay, so in my display, what we're doing here is we're subscribing to the instrument, and then here I put my own comments in here with these 3 asterisks, opening, the name of the label. We submit the order, okay, and as I've talked about on the console that's custom in context from Dukascopy, it will display the order information of the submit, which is the open, or the buy as defined by Dukascopy. And then I also wanted to confirm the state of that order. It's really important to understand this, because what can happen is you can put your order in, it'll go into a created state. Let me just pull up the states here. JForex Java docs API order states. I think it might be this one. Okay. So here are the different states you can get. So it's created. So it's created once the submission is sent in. But the Dukascopy server will then have to process it. And the standard from what I'm seeing in the sample code is wait 2 seconds, and then the status turns to filled. Okay? And then you can also at the same time cancel the order. It may go into an open state as well. But when you close the order, it goes into a closed state. So this is what I'm referring to. All right. So knowing that, we submit the order. But here's the catch. Don't apply take profit or stop loss to prevent premature close. And that was what I was having. So if I sent this command with the 2 parameters of stop profit and take profit, it usually goes into this premature close state. So as part of my testing, I do a wait for update, which is usually, as I said, 2 seconds right here, and then we want to ensure it goes into a filled state, and we can display it here. These are all in the examples. Okay, so then we want to make sure, so I displayed the get state of the order to make sure it's filled, and I just print that out as a debugging purpose. So as I said, we go out and we're still pulling the database, the Redis database. So in another state, we could submit into Redis or push into Redis a closed state along with the order ID that we submitted with. So in this case, it would be, let's say, SEP37. We need to ensure that we close the order with that exact same order ID. Okay, so I put some primitive exception handling in here. It's very basic, but it can kind of work, I think. So what we're doing here is if that row from Redis comes back containing that close in the value, not the key, but the value, what then happens is we parse it up again by the comma, and then we use the very first one, which is 0 based. Not, well, it's the second one really, but it's not 0, it's 1 for the second one. So that will retrieve and parse out the label. That's all we care about. So in my case, again, in my debugging or logging, I put these 3 asterisks in there to show it's my own statement, and it's a closing, and it's attempting to close that label. So then what will happen, this is very, again, really important to understand. You could go engine, get order, the name of the label, right? Because we get it from here, and then close that order, okay? That's unique to that label. And then again, we display the order state here to make sure it goes into closed. And that's it. Pretty simple stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire it up. Okay, let me just first show you what's in the database. So as I said, we did a flush all. So if I do an L range order 0, -1, it's empty, and that's what we want. So what I can do is I can fire up this program. Okay, go baby go. So it takes a little while to go through the credentials and do some blah blah regular stuff from the Dukascopy surveys. So we wait and wait and wait. Also, I want you to understand that we have JForex running, so we can confirm these orders are being submitted. Okay, so this is our JVM. This is the Java JVM, Java Virtual Machine. That's just been launched, and that will be launched here when it says strategy started. Okay, so now that we have that running, so you can see here it's strategy started. So now it's waiting to do something. So what we're going to do now is push those orders in into Redis, and you'll see what will happen here in the Java console. So I'm going to do a weird close, okay? Because as I said, we have some weird exception handling. So in this case, on the close, where am I? Oh. So in our close, what we got here is we've got our close. We do a try, and then we have our exceptions that get thrown, and we're just basically, again, the 3 asterisks, and then throw this message, close exception, and then print out the message. So what will happen is, because the database is empty, what will happen is oh, hang on here. Okay, here we go. So right now we're waiting for a tick to come in, and right now it's 7:30, and there's very little activity on the euro US dollar at this time. Another lesson to be learned. The only time when you get some active market data is during Swiss time, UK time, and maybe the New York open. So we're waiting for a tick to come in. How do I know that? Because we're waiting within the on tick message. So this just shows you how illiquid we are right now. Okay. Oh, also it may help if I have proper messaging here. So I'm going to send in this weird premature close. So hopefully, there you go. So closing is trying to attempt to close at September 38. Close exception, null. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to put a legitimate order in. As I said, with the labels, I'm going to try to keep it unique. So I'll do something like, I don't know, SP40. So everything's the same. So we should see here now an order gets submitted into the Dukascopy JForex. And again, we're just waiting for that next tick. So there you go. So there's our order. Now, the funny thing is with Dukascopy is you want to make sure that your positions are okay. Because here I look at 0909, and I've seen sometimes multiple positions get opened for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why that is. But here it's exactly what we want at 09 position ID at the last 2 digits. Cool. Okay, so we have a position open. Now, as I said here, we can see that that position's been open. We can see in the message that a position's been sent out. But here's where it gets very strange, is with Dukascopy. Sometimes this gets reflected, sometimes it does not within the Dukascopy, the JForex platform. So I know this is our latest position, 09. So I'm going to close this one. Let me just see, close position. I'm going to close this position as well. Okay, so those are manually closed, but now I'm going to push a command into Redis to close out this position of 09. But remember, we are using the unique label of September SEP 40. So in my case, I'm going to push the order, and then we're going to use 40 to close that out. Okay. So let me just pull up my NetBeans here, as well as my console. Let's see what happens here. So again, we're waiting for the so we see we have a sell on that 09 position. So it looks like it worked. Let me just you can see here the distinction with those three asterisks is very important to make sure that that close did happen. So here we see a close in our position. It's closed out. Our message, we did get a sell, which means that we sold that position. Okay, cool. So everything's working so far, which is good. And again, we're keeping it really basic. So let me go back into Redis again and do another one, because we know, according to JForex, we have no positions, we have no orders queued up within our JForex. So I'm going to clear this message log and just try to confirm that everything is running as is. So again, we will put in another unique position here. Okay, so we're waiting for our next tick to come in and then process that order. As I said, it's quite odd that it's very quiet. There we go. So there's our order. If I go into JForex, you'll see it's been filled. Here's our message. It has been accepted. No order, but here's our position of 33 last 3 digits. Okay. So let me just confirm that in the log here. Position 333. Cool. So now I'm going to go back into close out that one last position of SEP 41. And again, let's hope this works. It should work. Okay, so it did close it out. There's no positions left in the log, and there's our cell right there on 3-3 to position. Everything's working as we want, fully automated, driven by the queue or the message queue in Redis. So that's all good. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an interesting test, which I haven't done before. So I'm going to put another order in. This time I'm going to use SEP 42. Let's see what happens. This should work. There's our order. Coolio. Here's our position. No problem. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send in the exact same, using the exact same ID. Let's see what happens. So there seems to be already exists fill history, opening. So it didn't do anything, and it recognized the order already exists. So that's a good test condition. Nothing has really changed. But the cool thing is that if I keep this log around and I have problems, I can look back historically and see what went down. Okay. So I've shown you the premature. If I try to close an order that doesn't exist, like some with a different order ID doesn't exist, we know that that's not going to work. As you can see here, close exception 489 does not work. But in our case, we are opening 42. So we're going to close SEP 42. Here you go. That should work. We do have this position. Once it's filled or closed, that should disappear, which it did. Everything's working tickety-boo. Awesome. Okay, so on a very important element here, I've already talked about the code within the code, no stop loss or take profit sent back to Dukascopy. I'm not saying that Dukascopy does any form of stop hunting or whatnot. I'm not going to say that. It's not going to say anything further than that. But within my code here, I'm able to track my own virtual stop loss because I can set it here and then, basically have my system, not Dukascopy, but have my system close out those orders. When the market data says close out those prices if the stop loss or take profit gets hit, and I can send the exact same automation that you're seeing here into Redis and then have it close out the order. So as I said, it's a very primitive setup. It can work, and I'm pretty happy about it. The only difference is, the only tricky part, to be honest, is the instrument, because the instrument is a enum. Okay, I'm not here to teach what an enum is, but I'm hoping you will know that. Let me just see as an example what I mean. See right here, I'm hard coding the instrument Euro USD. So if I wanted to do multiple instruments, there's got to be an interesting trick here. See here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to convert a string from Redis for the instrument and then convert it into the appropriate enum so that we can parse it up properly. So when we submit the order, we know exactly the right instrument and map it accordingly. But they have some descriptions within the Dukascopy Java docs, but it's kind of difficult to understand. But I'll probably put a question onto the forum, and hopefully somebody can get back to me on it. But for now, I'm hard coding it, as I said, for the Euro US dollar. Everything seems to be working as expected, which is good. And as I said a while back, when I start live, I'll most likely only want to start with one instrument anyhow. And most likely it would be the Euro US dollar. So there you go. We've got everything all hunky-dory running, and we're all good. So hopefully I'll talk to you soon, and have a good day.